This is a $250,000 3D printer designed for 3D printing car parts.
And this is a $300 3D printer, one of the cheapest ones you can buy.
With a price difference that extreme, what does all that money really get you?
And how much do you really need to spend if you want to 3D print your own car parts?
Well, today we're gonna find out. I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Nolan.
Welcome to Donut. This is the Ridge Wallet, and they're sponsoring today's video. It's light, sleek, and most important, it's durable. This is your dad's bulky wallet from the 90s that you inherited. It isn't durable. The Ridge Wallet expands to hold up to 12 cards, plus still has room for cash. And unlike that melting cowhide wallet, the Ridge comes with RFID technology to keep your cards safe from digital thieves. And if you don't love it, within 45 days, you can send it back for a full refund. But let's be real, with over 50,000 five-star reviews, you're definitely gonna love it. But the Ridge team isn't just upgrading wallet storage, they're also upgrading your key storage with this. The Ridge key case organizes up to 6 keys in a minimalist, compact silhouette. From wallets and key cases to backpacks and phone cases, the Ridge has the perfect gift for this holiday season. So check out the link below or visit ridge.com/donutmedia and use code donutmedia to get 10% off plus free worldwide shipping and return.
The world of 3D printing is pretty wide. There are a lot of 3D printers of varying size, price point, capability, all that kind of stuff. I'm a total noob when it comes to this sort of thing.
We're both noobs, but we're gonna change that today.
Okay.
We're gonna be functional 3D printer owners.
I'm sure I'll retain all this knowledge.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so this is near the lower end of the 3D printer spectrum. This is a Ender 3, comes in at $300. It's made by a company called Creality. Creative Reality, Jerry.
Oh.
Creality. Since we're noobs, we decided to bring in a professional. Please welcome Bob from I Like to Make Stuff. What's up, man? Have you had any experience with this machine?
So this one specifically, no. They all basically do the same thing. There's a few different types of printers. A couple of them you would never have in your home, but the ones that you might have in your home are FDM, which are basically like hot glue guns. They squirt out hot plastic. And then you have SLA or SLS printers, which use resin and light. They cure the resin with a laser. We don't have any of those here today, but this is called an FDM printer, basically a hot glue gun. And imagine taking like a 3D object and you cut it into 2-dimensional slices, cheese slices, and then this is drawing those slices one on top of another and you're building up that 3D object.
Cool. So what is the material that it's being made out of?
A lot of PET, PLA, ABS, these are plastics that you would see in cars already. But then you've also got other stuff like carbon fiber.
And then for like something like this, that's only $300. Is there limitations?
The big limitation on something like this is the material that you could use. And then you have the build volume, how much of a thing it can actually make. You have printers that are bigger, some that are smaller.
With this machine right here, realistically, what kind of car parts are we looking at?
Like take things out of the equation that require really high heat. So in the engine bay, you probably just want to stay out of there, nothing in there. You want to look at interior parts, it'd be super easy to make. Any exterior parts are possible.
Well, I think I can think of a few things inside the low car that we can print with this thing. So let's look inside. Welcome to my office.
I like your office. So we have a lot of stuff in here that we could 3D print. What do you want to 3D print?
Yeah, so when we installed this handbrake during high-low, I had to modify it so it could stick through and have clearance. These are formerly climate control knobs, took all that out. If we plug these holes, it could be pretty cool. Make it look cleaner and maybe relocate this fan switch to live in one of these pods right here.
I also noticed that there's not really enough donut logos in here. You could put a donut logo
maybe,
on one of these.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So maybe fan on one, donut on the other.
Okay, so to 3D model something, so you have to take as many measurements in the real world as possible. So let's just leave it in.
Okay.
Measure with some calipers, 56.5 millimeters. So we have the one that we need, and we can edit the software.
Bam, right there. Our fan control switch will now live in the center console as opposed to this little hole down here, which I'll fill with like a pop tab or something like that.
There's a bunch of different ways to model this. We use Fusion 360 by Autodesk. We have an online course where we teach people how to use it.
Look at that.
Look at that. And it's very, very easy. So we'll get started here. I think everybody left me to eat lunch, but you know, it's cool. I'll just keep working, guys.
I'm right over here, Bob. I can't also type on the computer.
I'm trying. It's moving too fast.
All right, so an important step to do is run a test print, make sure it's running smoothly, everything's operating normally, all the plugs are correct.
Another thing about these printers is that they take a long time to heat up. So this one's moving up at about a degree a second.
Are you guys done yet?
Yeah.
When you go up in price, do you also go up in speed of printing?
If it has a different mechanism than like the lead screws, it can usually go faster. So this first couple layers I think look pretty good, which tells us that it's set up correctly. It's probably ready to print.
Awesome, yeah. Probably working is good enough for low car, so. All right, we got the file, we got loaded into our printer. We're gonna set it to print, go to lunch, and hopefully when we come back, it'll be at least halfway done.
Not likely, but let's try it. So the printer just failed. Went back and fixed a couple of things. We're just gonna try it again. Sometimes it happens. We turned on the AC and that little bit of voltage spike made this printer restart. Now we gotta start it again. So sometimes this just doesn't work like you want it to. Unfortunately, there's a bunch of different...
So we should be able to get you up and running in no time.
All right, our patience has paid off. Our parts are done printing. Let's peel them off and see how they fit into our center console.
It'll pop off.
Whoa.
Still got some support material in there we need to get rid of.
Yes, it does.
Square it up.
Square it up. Bam. Popped
There
in.
she goes. Popped on
Wow,
in.
look at that. That's so cool. That's sick. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and paint the letters. In the meantime, let's look at the expensive piece. Jerry, what is this?
This is a $7,000 Ultimaker S5. It's got two spools here, so we can do double colors. Are there tri-filament machines?
There are.
Quad filament?
There are.
Quintuple?
Probably.
So Bob, what's the difference between a $300 and a $7,000 one like this?
This one, I mean, having the dual extruder is a big part of that because now you can have two different colors, but you can also have two different materials.
Ah.
You could have flexible and rigid or strong and weak. You use a bunch of different combinations. Also, it has a camera in it. I don't know if you noticed that. So you can print to this from the software and actually watch the print over Wi-Fi.
Oh, that's cool.
Plus the build volume, this thing's huge.
Yeah,
You
this is pretty.
You could make a giant thing in this.
Yeah. When you step up to something like this, what's the level of
It's even
engagement?
easier to get into. So, I mean, that's another part of the cost is they build their own software, they have a better user interface, the setup and all of the calibration is all automatic.
That's for people who don't want to learn. As much. Also, we have to thank Matter Hackers for letting us borrow this $7,000 printer. We didn't go buy one ourselves, so thank you. Go check them out. There'll be a link below if you want to buy your own 3D printer from them.
We spent our $7,000 on 2 more Chrysler Sebrings and a mini bike. All right, well, now that we know a little bit more about this machine, let's go and design a piece for it to make for our center console. Okay, so we've got the fan switch going, and we already made that model. Can we just, for the middle piece, just slap a donut logo on there and be good?
Yeah, with this software you can actually import graphics and photos and whatever and use them as drawings. So we'll just erase what we've done on the surface here,
Sweet.
drop the logo on, and then we can send it to the other printer.
Perfect.
We've got our 2-color print with the donut logo ready for this machine. And so it's got 2 different filaments in here, different colors and different materials. So we're gonna go for it. You can see it right there. That's pretty awesome.
Congratulations!
$7,000 print.
$300 print.
Yeah, but you can't tell the finishing marks are very similar. I think right. This has a uniform direction at least.
Yeah,
in one way.
You
so
can
that-
definitely see the cross hatching on the cheaper one. But it's sick, you know? We're able to make a little piece, 2 little pieces for our car.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy with this. Bob, Jerry and I just kind of around all day. What were the major differences between the $300 printer and the $7,000 printer?
The more expensive one took longer to get started, but obviously the results are better. This one I had to mess with a little bit more. I had to restart it 3 times to get that one print.
Yep.
but it did work out in the end. Honestly, something like this would work in just about every garage.
It really is true to like the DIY spirit, this kind of DIY market gear, because it's like, hey, you're gonna be able to do stuff with this, but you're gonna have to like mess with it for a little while.
With that one, you could make stuff for your car, and with this one, you could make stuff for your car and buy a car. So I mean, you know,
True.
where are you gonna put your money?
All right, enough comparison talk. Let's put these in our center console and see how the end result looks. Cool, man. Look at this, dude. Fan switch is installed. Fan still works. It's bitching. This thing looks great. There actually isn't any donut branding inside the car, so to have just one logo right there I think fits pretty well. Now that we have this giant fan sign, anybody who drives this car probably isn't gonna forget to turn it on now, so that gives me some peace of mind. All right, so now that these holes are filled in, all I need now is a little pop tab for the previous hole and a bag for the shifter. Unfortunately, we can't print velvet, but maybe a super duper expensive 3D printer can. Let's go check that out.
Well, as much as we wanted to find that out, Nolan and I got diarrhea.
So I, Zach Job, took a trip out to Moonshot 3D to talk to the owner Adenna about his more expensive 3D printers. To start, we took a look at the Statusys Fortis 450MC. This is an FDM printer that retails for around $185,000. Does this get up to temperature quicker?
Yeah, one of the big benefits of the Stratasys machine is the way that they've enclosed it is so far and above what other companies are doing at the moment, and you can get there within 10-15 minutes.
That's
it's
nice.
really fast.
Does this thing print apart quicker than just a desktop FDM unit?
Oh my God, it's way faster.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you could make a cheaper one move faster, but you lose resolution, right? And so this moves quick and you maintain really good resolution?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I guess that's what you spend all that money for. Okay, I hear we printed some stuff ourselves and sent them over. Oh, God. What do you think?
Yeah, so you do see the outline.
Right.
And in a lot of cases, when I show parts like this to someone who's running a desktop printer, they'll tell me, like, I can get better resolution on a desktop.
Yeah.
And for sure, you can. A lot of that gapping is just due to some print settings that we can modify. The big difference is if you wanted to make like 1,000 of these, you could do that pretty easily on here. Yeah. This, that, and that took about an hour.
All right, so a lot of times with, you know, the smaller, cheaper 3D printers, you got a pretty small build size. The biggest thing you can print is pretty small. What can this thing do?
So this gets pretty big. It's not the biggest Stratasys that's out there, but it's kind of the next step up. So we can do 16 by 14 by 16.
Dang. All right, so this one is pretty big, but I hear you got an even bigger one.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna take a look at that.
Let's do it.
All right, so this is the big printer. How big of a print can this thing do?
It's pretty big. So you're actually looking at it, it's about 15 by 13 by 18 inches.
Dang. But how much did it cost?
Yeah, it's a bit. You're looking at about 250K.
Well, that is a chunk of change. So this is curing layer by layer with laser, right?
With lasers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, cool.
Yeah. So just heating the powder close to melting.
Fusing it, yeah.
Yeah. And then you've got a laser up here. You've actually got this laser window. So we clean that every build. The laser will shine through there. You've got a couple mirrors over here, X and Y, and that just dictates
shoots
each
it
cross
wherever
section.
it needs to be.
Your print bed's right in the middle. So these are actually loaded all the way up with powder. So they're bottomed out over here.
Yeah.
And every layer they'll come up by a layer height.
I see.
And at the same time, this will go down a layer height.
Yeah.
So once it's all done printing, if we do an 18-inch build, 18 inches of powder is down here. Yeah. There's probably, I don't know, 150, 200 parts buried in here. And so this actually just got pulled out of the printer maybe an hour, hour and a half ago. Here's one of the parts. I mean, it still has powder on it, but all of this powder will come off, and underneath it is the part, and we'll just bead blast it, and you've got a part ready to go at the end.
Very freaking cool. Dude, I tell you.
Plastic. It works. Yeah.
It's the future.
This is actually a new material. Yeah, so this is called Victrix AM200. It's a peak-based material. Every material out there kind of, you know, if you want high temp, there's that material. You want chemical resistance, that's that material. Peak is the one material that actually hits all of them.
So you could feasibly print something like this, print a bunch of them, and sell them as an end product, right? This material is durable enough and good enough to be used in an automotive application.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's so you don't have to go and cut this on a CNC, fabricate it.
Right.
You can print it with a bunch of parts and throw it right into a vehicle.
And like, especially for car guys and stuff, as you know, you have an older car or something, you can't get a part anymore. Well, you can just print it. Just like this. This is a dash piece printed, and you can see it. It's textured just like an original dash piece. And I know you guys maybe have seen a cracked dash or two, like I have. You could just print a new one. All right, tell me about this thing. We've got a pretty sweet looking pedal box set up here that looks to be pretty much all printed except for this bit here.
It's just nylon 12, but 10% filled with chopped carbon fiber.
Yeah.
That's what kind of gives it that matte look.
Yeah, it looks
finish
cool too.
to it.
It's got a sweet finish. Feels very durable. I mean, is this something you could actually like run in a car?
Yeah.
That's incredible. If you consider, you know, 3D printing 10 years ago, this would seem crazy, and even think 20 years ago, it's like, this is mind blowing. It's really cool. All right, so what do we got here?
So this is an SLA part. We took your same file, printed on this machine as well.
Yeah.
So this is printing in resin. You need supports with this one. And it's printed in one of the fastest SLA resins out there right now. This was done in about an hour and a half.
Well, let's see if we can break these off the bed and clean them up a little bit.
They're not here. Each one has kind of a different processing workflow. SLA is one of the ones that's a little bit more intensive.
Yeah, for after the print?
After the print.
Sure. Look at us. Well, Adenna, thanks for showing us around, showing us some awesome printing stuff. Moonshot 3D, you got an awesome business here, so if you got any 3D printing needs, hit up Adenna at Moonshot. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, learned a thing or two about 3D printing. If you did, go ahead and smash that like button, throw down a comment, and you can follow me on Instagram at ZachJob. Follow Donut at Donut Media. So if you want to win this sweet donut nameplate we printed that also fits in a 350Z climate control spot, then join the Donut Underground by hitting the join button down below. And we're going to give this away right there. See you guys later.